faith, or don't even share my own version of Christianity, or that I don't like Muslims. Not at all. We have to carry these things into our lives. It's a personal issue. In Nigeria, religion has always been a personal issue. But when some people seek to make it a political tool in order to further their own interests and perhaps destabilize a government or a president they feel is not doing their bidding, that's when you need to start getting worried. And I suspect that's what's going on today.
Now, I want to ask you, do you think all of this is a fallout? Now, President Jonathan has said that he fears that there are elements of Boko Haram within his cabinet, and within his cabinet and all that. So I'm not thinking to myself now, we're looking for solutions to this day. You used to be a member of the Federal Executive Council. Now, how do you root out people like that who are part of the fabric of your government?
Well, President Goodluck Jonathan, I'm sure, knows what he's talking about. If you have a situation whereby elements within the government, his government, try to justify what has been happening on the grounds of, for example, revenue allocation, the serving governor of Central Bank said it recently that, there's a link between the activities of Boko Haram and the revenue allocation formula, which is based on derivation. And he argued that 13% derivation, which goes to the oil states, the Niger Delta states, is far too much, whereas the North have no money, and that is why Boko Haram is thriving. Now, this is intellectually dishonest, it's unacceptable, it's unfair. There is absolutely no justification for the kind of Islamist tendencies that we have in the core North today. None whatsoever. And you cannot link it to the revenue allocation formula or 13% derivation and say that the South has too much money and the North does not. Now, when somebody speaks like that, you begin to wonder what is going on. When the same person talks about Islamic banking in this country and seeks to introduce it, you begin to wonder. When the same person, takes away banks, 5 banks, to hand over 5 what they have described as Christian banks, or in Christian hands to hand over to what has been described as core northern interests, you begin to wonder. You begin to wonder what is really going on. You have a situation where the Speaker of the House of this country, the day after the Kanu killings, in which a whole city was sacked, 20 bombs went off simultaneously, over 250 people killed in the space of 1 or 2 hours by the Boko Haram. And the following day, the Speaker of the House, who happens to be a northerner as well, turns around and says that Boko Haram should be forgiven for these activities, and that the president should sit down with them and talk to them. You begin to wonder what is really going on. Why is it the key leaders in the core North have not spoken out enough against these people and taken a stand? Why is it that for the first time in our history, you will have people saying that they will target churches, and they are targeting churches, killing Christians, and saying the Christians and the President of the Federal Republic and the security agencies are their targets? And nobody seems to accept the fact that we have a major problem on our hands. We have a problem. It's a security problem. The security agencies have been paid, they've been trained to confront such problems. My counsel and my advice to this president and this government is to get down to it and let the army do their job. He tried to dialogue. He reached out to them on CNN, on CCTV, on Al Jazeera, and on BBC, in which he said, look, identify yourselves so that we can now sit down and have a discussion to know what your demands are so that we can meet them. He did that. He did what any statesman would be required to do at the outset, though many of us counseled against it. And of course, the response he got was predictable, which was, become a Muslim, repent, and after you've repented and become a Muslim, we may talk to you. In any case, we don't think you're serious, and our intention is to kill you and kill you like a chicken, and we will enjoy it. That was the formal response from the leader of Boko Haram. Very few Nigerian politicians and leaders are ready to speak out against these people. I am ready to speak out to them, because at the end of the day, if you believe that there is a God that protects and that delivers, you should have no fear of even death. It is very important that our leaders muster the courage, muster the strength to stand up against this evil and fight it, know it for what it is. Muslims and Christians must come together, particularly the northern Muslims. We must all come together with the Christian community in the north and throughout the country and unite and stand against this evil that claims to be fighting an Islamic cause. They're not fighting an Islamic cause. They're fighting their own cause, and it's an evil cause, a cause which is filled with blood, destruction, and evil, and it must be stopped.
Now, I want to ask you now, there's this thing that Karl Marx said. He said that
what's going on today.
Now, I want to ask you, do you think all of this is a fallout of the April elections, because people talked about, making the country ungovernable and all of that? Do you think all of this is a fallout of the elections, people who lost out?
Let me tell you that there are 2 groups of people when it comes to the opposition. The larger group, of which I have been a member, are people that are going on today.
Now I want to ask you, do you think all of this is a fallout of the April elections? Because people talked about, you know, making the country ungovernable and all of that. Do you think all of this is a fallout of the elections? People who lost out.
Let me tell you that there are two groups of people when it comes to the opposition. The larger group, of which I have been a member, are people that are concerned about the way, excuse me, some of the ways, or the way of some of the things, some of the policies of this government and the way they have been enunciated and executed. And that's perfectly legitimate in any democracy. The fact that we can even do that tells you a lot, that we're living in a thriving democracy where the rule of law prevails and where people can speak their minds and write what they like without being locked up for it, and that's good. However, there's also another group within the opposition, which I do not belong to. That group believe that anybody that comes from the other side of the country, that is the South, that is a Christian, needs to be teleguided and told what to do by them. And I'm talking about a core group, a very small group of Fulani supremacists who believe that they were born to rule this country. Not all Hausa Fulani belong to that group. As a matter of fact, the overwhelming majority of Hausa Fulani people are decent, law-abiding people who believe in the Nigerian cause as opposed to any Fulani cause. But there are some who are still in strategic places, still in the corridors of power, have been in one government after the other, and still espouse this archaic notion that they own Nigeria and that any president that's running the things from the center must be at their beck and call. We cannot run away from this. It happened when Obasanjo was there. Initially, when he started, they tried to shake him with the whole Sharia issue. And he took the smart course. He did not oppose it. He allowed it to fizzle out. If he had done what some of us had wanted at the time, there may have been a religious war. But he was very smart. He let it ride. He let it pass. And he managed to be an independent president. Goodluck Jonathan is there today. The fact that he's there, a number of people are not happy with it. And they believe that because he wasn't born from the core north, or he's not a Muslim and so on and so forth, he needs to be pushed out of office and disgraced out of office. Now, needless to say, I do not subscribe to that view, and the overwhelming majority of Nigerians, even Northerners, do not subscribe to that view. But to say that such a tendency does not exist is simply not true. It's the reality of our politics, and we need to join our hands together, Christians and Muslims, Northerners and Southerners, Hausa Fulani and those that are not Hausa Fulani, to fight this tendency and let everybody know that, listen, Nigeria is a society that everybody, regardless of where you come from, regardless of your religious faith, you have the right to rule the country, and you have the right to aspire to greatness in this country. That's all we're asking. My own position is, and will always be, that if you cannot have a Nigeria that is based on equality of all its nationalities, of all its people, and of all its religious faiths, then we cannot have a Nigeria at all. It just can't be sustained. The lessons of the Biafran War is that people will always exercise their right of self-determination if they feel that their ethnic group is being subjected to genocide, to unequal opportunities, is being persecuted, and is being ridiculed. That is the reality of life, and that is the reality that we're facing in Nigeria today. So we need to have a Nigeria where everybody feels equal and everybody feels part and parcel of the game.
Do you possibly feel that if things had turned out